Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and with the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. Thank you for watching Hangar Flying. This evening, we are pleased to have Dr. Bill Compton back on our show. Bill is an accomplished pilot with over 10,000 hours and has an airline transport pilot and flight instructor certificate. He has a turbocharged VTOL Bonanza, which he's flown all over Alaska and the world, and we've already counted over 20 solo oceanic flights. Welcome back to the show, Bill.
Thank you, Mary. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we've been talking about your analysis of an accident that occurred in Southeast Alaska in 2008 in August. We've talked about flight planning and about safety in a willingness to be able to cancel any flight at any time. Let's talk about fatigue, which played a part in this accident. Many Alaskans may be experiencing this problem with fatigue, particularly in the summer with all this daylight and the constant bustle of activity. Can you tell us how fatigue played a role in the accident and how was it obvious that it was affecting the pilot?
Well, it has been written by psychologists that a human awake for more than 14 hours is as impaired as a legally drunken driver. And if one is fatigued, there's only one cure for it, and that's to sleep. And there are other things that can make fatigue worse, but I don't know anything else that makes fatigue better.
So you mentioned earlier that in some of your oceanic flights, fatigue caused you to experience some symptoms of fatigue. Can you tell us what those symptoms were?
Well, yes. An urge to sleep that had to continually be denied and making more mistakes and not being as sharp as I could be. And fatigue is insidious. It hits you, but it's very hard to realize that you're a victim of it.
And I read the transcripts in your article about some of the communications that the pilot in the accident had with air traffic controllers. And it was almost as if he was a new pilot and couldn't manage both a letdown or a decrease in altitude as well as finding and intercepting a radial.
Right.
And he wasn't a new pilot, was he?
No, he wasn't. I listened to the transcript many times of the interaction between the pilot and Anchorage Center. And my first reaction was, oh, this guy doesn't have an instrument rating. He's just lost. How did he end up here? And then I ended up speaking with a pilot, a professional pilot who was a friend of his. No, this guy had 9,300 hours. He had flown a twin to Europe. He had owned a Mitsubishi 2 twin turboprop pressurized airplane. This fellow had a lot of experience, but he was disabled by fatigue, so much so that he sounded lost and out of his element, and he was, truly.
And you mentioned that it's insidious and it's hard to recognize that in ourselves when we might be getting fatigued. So in your travels and your solo flights, what do you do to mitigate symptoms? Obviously you can't sleep when you're by yourself, and over the ocean there's no real place to set down if you don't have floats.
Right. Well, I try to have adequate sleep beforehand, but some of these oceanic flights have taken, well, they're between 14 even up to 17 hours. And so I use oxygen above 8,000 feet, and I put it on, turn it on before I leave the ground. I think a noise-canceling headset is a huge help. And I try to make the cabin as comfortable as I can with provision for drinking lots of fluids, staying hydrated, voiding whenever I need to, and food and comfort. And I try to stretch and change position. And I do believe that mild hypoxia, for instance, being at 10,000 feet for hours and hours, increases the rate of fatigue.
Well, those are some great tips to help pilots prevent fatigue, and we really appreciate sharing your experience with us. You've been a great guest, and it's been a real pleasure having you on the show, Bill.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. If you are not a member of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation but would like to learn more about the accident that we've been discussing, please send us an email at aasfonline@gmail.com. We'll make sure you get a copy. We hope that you have enjoyed hangar flying and that you've learned something about fatigue prevention and something about accident prevention. It's a great reminder to get some sleep, especially in the summer. Until next time, fly safely.